Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me hear you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Walter Washington Convention Center in the great city of Washington, D.C. Our hopes and aspirations is that we will one day say welcome to the 51st state in the United States of America. I'm Mark Muriel, proud to serve as President and Chief Executive Officer of the National Urban League, and here today to officially say we are here in Washington for the 2022 National Urban League Conference on the 112th, say 112th, anniversary of the founding of the National Urban League. A few things before I introduce and want to acknowledge and put our hands together for Mayor Muriel Bowser, for her leadership, for her sponsorship, and for her recent election victory in the Democratic primary here in the city of Washington. So excited that you'll be serving a third term as mayor of Washington, D.C. Let me offer a few thoughts this morning because we're proud to convene our annual conference here. It's the first time in 3 years that we're getting together in person. Last time we were together in Indianapolis, Indiana, people had not heard the name George Floyd. People had not heard the name Ahmaud Arbery. They had not heard the name Breonna Taylor. The idea that people would plot, plan, and organize an effort to use violence to disrupt the peaceful transition of power could not even be imagined. 3 years later, we gather at a time of crisis, a time of challenge, a time when America stands at a crossroads. But we gather with power, pride, strength, grit, and determination to collectively and together meet the challenges of these times. So as we say, when the National Urban League and the Urban League movement gathers, we gather as a purpose with a party. Because we do know, right, how to have a good time. But that party is a second-tier priority to our purpose. So we want to thank a number of people. First, we want to thank, once again, the government of the city of Washington, Mayor Bowser and her team, and give her another round of applause for all of the work to coordinate this. And we want to thank George Lambert. George Lambert, the president and CEO of the Greater Metropolitan Washington Urban League, for his leadership, partnership, and support. And we'll hear from the mayor and from George shortly. Let me also acknowledge and thank a number of sponsors. We can't, without the sponsors who are our partners, not only for the conference, but on an ongoing basis, be able to provide for all of our guests and friends, and also for the community, a quality experience, a quality, purposeful experience. So let us thank first our title sponsor, Bank of America. Bank of America is represented by Derek Perkins, marketing executive for Greater Washington and for the entire DMV, right, Derek? So stand up, Derek. Let's give Derek acknowledgement and thank the Bank of America team for all their incredible work. And also, there's Toyota. Toyota has been a partner of ours for many, many years. We want to welcome, representing Toyota this morning, Tellis Bethel. Please stand, Tellis, who is Group Vice President and Social Innovation Officer for Toyota Motor North America. And also I want to thank Alva, who will be recognized as a woman of power tomorrow with a number of other great women for her stewardship and leadership, and then nationwide. Nationwide of Columbus, Ohio, like Toyota and Bank of America, a longtime friend and partner of the National Urban League, represented here by Lou Yarborough III, who is Associate Vice President for Enterprise, Diverse, and Cause Marketing. Please stand, Lou, and thank you for all that you do and everything you represent. So just a few things about the National Urban League Conference. We are live, yes, and in living color, right here in the nation's capital, but there's also a virtual component of this conference. Mayor Bowser, we will be streaming all of the key events through NUL.org so that literally tens of thousands of people can witness the proceedings. But then in addition to that, what was formerly understood as an expo hall is going to be taking place in a virtual platform called vFairs, which is really cool and dynamic and will allow people all over the country to connect with those who are part of our expo hall. And then our career fair, central to what we do, connecting people to work and to jobs and to careers, will also be taking place virtually, where we have some 60 to 70 employers who are going to connect literally with tens of thousands of job seekers and aspirants from all over the nation. And then our tech fair. Our tech fair also will be taking place in a virtual fashion so that people from all over the nation, indeed all of this all over the world, can connect with what is occurring and with the Urban League movement and the Urban League's assets and supports for the community. So COVID changed us. And for us, we thought it very important for us to come back in person. But we also recognized and understood that shifting some components of the conference to a virtual platform would allow us to connect with many, many, many more people. And so that's an exciting part. And then, not to be forgotten, we have our Youth Summit taking place out at the University of Maryland, where there are some 200 to 300 young people. I was with them yesterday, and I can confidently say they are ready, they are engaged, and those teenagers are ready to be the next generation of leaders. So we're excited, and our Youth Summit participants will be with us this afternoon at the rally at the Martin Luther King Memorial, as well as in the morning, Mayor Bowser, where we'll be to open the conference. And last but not least, the National Urban League has Community and Family Day. So Community and Family Day will take place here at the Walter Washington Convention Center, and we will be distributing several thousand backpacks to prepare our young people for return to school, as well as shoes and other things for the community. So we come to Washington not just to engage amongst ourselves, Mayor Bowser, and Washingtonians, but also to give back to the community, George, because we want people to see what your affiliate does in this community, and we want people to see what the Urban League movement does all across the nation. So give staff and volunteers and all who've worked assiduously and long hours to put this together a big round of applause. That is the Urban League Conference. So without any delay, I'm proud to introduce a leader who's truly been a transformative leader here in the city of Washington, this great city. But I am calling her today Mayor Bowser, but I'd like to soon call her Governor Bowser. Ladies and gentlemen, Muriel Bowser.
Well, good morning, everybody, and I want to welcome you to Washington, D.C. I also call her the best city in the world, soon to be the 51st state. It's my pleasure to share a podium with your president and CEO, Mark Muriel, but I also call him Mayor Muriel. That's what the mayors do. Once the mayor, always the mayor. And he had the privilege of representing his hometown in another great American city. President Lambert, it is always a pleasure to be with you and to recognize the great work and partnership of the Greater Washington Urban League and all the wonderful things that we do together. I am thrilled to say that DC is open, and there is no better way to show that than to have a couple thousand people concerned about urban America convene for the first time in 3 years in your town. You're going to find here at the Convention Center that you will be well taken care of. I know that you are in one of our signature hotels, that you're going to see our brand new library at the Martin Luther King Memorial Library, where you will have some events. And I also know that you will get around to see DC's neighborhoods. 700,000 people call DC home. We are focused and at the forefront of many of the urban issues that the National Urban League focuses on. Just last week, I joined the Vice President and other state and local leaders to talk about how the American Rescue Plan is helping states make transformational investments. In that case, we were talking about jobs and how we can train our residents for high-paying jobs. I used to say good-paying jobs, but now I'm going to say high-paying jobs. Because we need high-paying jobs for people to be able to raise their families in cities like ours, where we are making huge investments, we're attracting people and businesses, and the cost of living reflects the demand to live here and start your business here. So we have the opportunity to focus on infrastructure, which is what we talked about at the White House. Tech, I was happy to hear the president talking about a tech fair and a jobs fair. And Reverend Bowen, we need to work with President Muriel to see how DC government can be one of those employers in the jobs fair. We are also, I mentioned, try, and we have the opportunity to be on the forefront of many of these issues. And I think there is no better time than now to focus on Black home ownership. And we have the opportunity. I started a $40 million legacy package that's focused on how Black Washingtonians can afford to live here and stay here. 10 million of those dollars will be focused on home ownership. Another tranche of that is focused on commercial acquisitions so our legacy businesses can buy their buildings and turn rent into equity. And in the meanwhile, hire more DC residents. You heard President Muriel talk about DC statehood. And it is true. There's so much that we do. We're unique in the system. We're a city, county, state. I function as a mayor, county executive, and governor, but we're left out of the process because we don't have a voting representative in Congress and we don't have 2 senators. And when we think about some of the ills that are facing our country right now, our great country, which has so much potential, we want to make sure that every American is locked into that political process, including the 700,000 people who live here and pay taxes here and demand a seat at the table. So while you are here, I want you to experience Washington to its fullest. Let us know how we can help, and we're going to be there every step of the way. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Now, without any delay, our leader here in Washington, the president of the Greater Metropolitan Washington Urban League, George Lambert. George.
So really delighted to be here. Good morning to all of you. President Muriel, I want to begin by thanking you for certainly adding my voice to this press conference as well. And I do want to just kind of underscore that both the mayor and myself are native Washingtonians, and so we have clearly a vested interest in the well-being of the city. I will say about the mayor, I was very delighted, probably a couple of years or so ago, to pen an editorial really kind of praising her in terms of the work, the very measured work that she's done in terms of protecting our city, particularly as we were navigating through COVID. So just want to certainly be on the record in terms of saying that as well. Absolutely, give it applause on that. I'm going to take a few minutes, but I won't necessarily opine on what the issues are in particular, because I think both President Muriel and certainly Mayor Bowser have done that. But what I do want to do is to underscore just a little for you how we fit in that scenario in terms of the work that we do at the Greater Washington Urban League. And I will start by saying this to you, and I message this all the time. Can you imagine a world where there are no equity gaps? No equity gaps. That is really the work that we do at the Greater Washington Urban League, and the overarching work that we do at the Greater Washington Urban League in terms of our vision, eliminating and closing equity gaps 24/7, all day long, for the work that we do. And so, having said that to you, I want you to know that we're the boots on the ground. We execute, I should say, at the level of the boots on the ground as well, in terms of changing the lives for the folks that we serve every day. We have a very strong partnership with the District of Columbia, with the mayor, with many of the agencies here as well. And so many of the programs that we roll out are certainly to help to improve and impact the lives of the folks that we serve. I will say this. Our work is not so much concerned about situation improvement, although we do that. Really, the real focus of the Greater Washington Urban League is life transformation. There's a difference, and don't miss it. Not just situation improvement, but life transformation, the work that we do. So I want to kind of, end by saying this to you as well. Yesterday, President Muriel did mention that we spent some time at the University of Maryland with the youth that are participating in our youth conference. And I think probably about 200 students there. We have about maybe 8 or so there as well. And I said to them that we want them to enjoy the week and certainly their time there and meet other folks from around the country as well, because we truly believe that our children equal our destiny, all right? And I'm looking forward to handing off the baton to them. But I also said to them that this week for them is a master's class. Don't miss it. It's a master's class. It's a master's class because we're preparing them in terms of moving into that role of taking on the many jobs and responsibilities that we do now. I will close and say this to you. Our ancestors left us a legacy of determination, okay? Left us a legacy of determination. But it is now up to us to look at how we go beyond that and to move forward. So that is still the work of the Greater Washington Urban League, and that is the vision. I know that's the vision of President Muriel and all of our team at the National Urban League and my team as well. How do we go forward? Bottom line is the things that got us here to 2022 are not the things that will get us there. So we're always keeping our eye on the things that will get us there as we move forward. Thank you. Delighted you're here. Enjoy the city.
Thank you very much, George. Give George another round of applause. Thank you, George. Just a few things, and I'll open the floor if there are any questions from the media. But tomorrow morning, well, let me begin with this evening. So this evening, we will be at the Martin Luther King Memorial for our opening rally. And we've chosen to open this year's conference with a rally at the memorial. Many of our members and constituents from across the country have not had a chance to visit the memorial. Last time we were here in 2010, the memorial had not been completed. And we think it's an appropriate place for us to lift up the issues of voting rights, including full representation for Washington, D.C. and statehood for D.C., to lift up the importance of protecting women's rights and reproductive rights, to lift up our important fight against gun violence and for gun safety laws and responsible approaches to keeping our communities safe, to lift up a range of issues, economic inclusion, economic justice and economic rights, where we bring, by opening at the Martin Luther King Memorial, a sense of passion and enthusiasm. Because we have to fill our tank to fight this work. This work is not mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional, it has to be in our souls to do this work against the forces that we are aligned against all too often. Then, after that, we will be transitioning to the Martin Luther King Library, the spectacular newly renovated Martin Luther King Library, where the Washington Urban League will host us for a great, if you will, opening event and opening reception, and we're looking forward to that. Tomorrow morning at the convention center, I'll have an opportunity to open the conference with what is known as the State of the Urban League address. And as a part of that, we'll be recognizing George's work in the housing area and recognizing one of his clients that has had an opportunity to move from being a renter to becoming a homeowner to demonstrate the very important work that we do. And then at noon tomorrow, we will be recognizing a host of powerful, dynamic women with our Women of Power Award. Other important highlights is that on Friday, the Vice President of the United States will be with us, Kamala Harris. So she will be joining us for our volunteer luncheon presented by the Guild. But let me tell you an important historical note. Vice President Harris was recognized as a National Urban League Woman of Power in 2004. That was the first year we did the Women of Power Awards. At that time, she had recently been sworn in to her first elected office as district attorney for the city and county of San Francisco. So when I spoke with her on the phone, she of course remembered that, and I said, can you even imagine, Madam Vice President, that was 18 years ago when we recognized you. And I remember distinctly that Chuck Collins, a member of our board that recommended her, said to me, we need to recognize Kamala Harris. And at the time, I had only heard of her, knew very little about her. She's a new DA, and she said, trust me, she's going places. She's just starting, so we're excited. And then Friday evening at our National Urban League Gala, Whitney M. Young Gala, we will be recognizing the families of both Vernon Jordan and Whitney Young. Vernon Jordan, of course, passed during the pandemic. Whitney Young, it would have been in 2021 his 100th birthday, and 50 years since he lost his life tragically in a drowning accident in Lagos, Nigeria. We will also be recognizing DC's own delegate to the Congress, Eleanor Holmes Norton, with the Living Legend Award, as well as recognizing D. Nice. Y'all know D. Nice? D. Nice kept us level during the pandemic, and a number of other things, as well as Sherilyn Ifill, who's retired as the leader of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. And then once again, Saturday, we'll be back for Family and Community Day. So I want everyone to know, certainly want those who are watching to know that they can tune in and participate in this. So we're excited to be here. Welcome to Washington. This is going to be the best National Urban League Conference of all time, George, of all time. So let's give it up. And before we adjourn, let me entertain any media questions if there are any. Yes, sir.
Sam Ford with Channel 7 here in D.C. First off, I understand this is the first time you've been back since COVID. How's it feel?
It feels stupendous. It feels supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. It feels powerful to connect with humans, to connect with friends, to connect with people, to recharge our batteries, to learn, hey, what's been happening in the last 3 years. And I tell you, it's challenging as we look back to see everything we've had to deal with. COVID, George Floyd, the election of 2020, January 6th, all of the challenges that brought, and we've learned how to do things virtual. I don't think I knew what a Zoom was, or Teams was, or any of these devices were, but now they are part of daily life and how we operate. So thanks for the question, but we're energized to be back in person.
And I have another question. If you look across the street from the convention center, not this far back, but right there on, I guess, New York Avenue or Mass, whatever it is, at night, is the Mount Vernon Place United Methodist Church. And in their yard, there are a number of people in tents. And that's a big thing I know here in Washington. And I assume across the nation. I'm just curious, is this something that the Urban League let's say, deals with, and what's your views?
So it is the rise of people without a house, without a permanent roof over their head, is a crisis affecting too many American cities. I come to Washington, I see it in New Orleans, I saw it in Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Los Angeles, the rising number of people without a house to live in. What does it say to us? It says a number of things, and let me talk about it, what it means for our values, and then I want to offer, because you've asked the question, some things we're advocating for to address this. Number one, what it means for our values is, how can a nation with so much wealth and power and largesse allow any of its citizens to live in poverty, to live without a roof over their head? And number two, what does it mean from a policy point of view? Well, and I know the mayor has worked hard to increase the supply of affordable housing units. But what I believe, and I'll testify to this effect before the Congress this coming Thursday, is that the program known as the Section 8 Housing Voucher Program, which is a subsidy program which helps people pay rent. You all familiar with that program? That program, we believe, should be expanded so that anyone that meets the minimum eligibility requirements gets a voucher. Right now they are rationed. It is limited. And it is a chase or a lottery or a line for people to try to get one of these vouchers. And if you're lucky to get one, you get one. If you can't have one, we need to treat it the same way we treat the SNAP program or the food stamp program, that if you meet the minimum economic qualifications, you get a voucher, which means you're going to have some additional help to allow you to pay rent. To do that would not cost us, it would cost us less than what we've paid to support the military in Ukraine. And we should support freedom in Ukraine and the independence and the sovereignty of Ukraine. But we need to, and I'll say this, it is tragic that President Biden's Build Back Better program was blocked by the senator from West Virginia because of all of the good it has to do. And now you have people using what I call fuzzy economic arguments that, oh, it would have created more inflation. Go tell that to the people living in those tents. Go tell that to the mother that is struggling to put food on the table. Go tell that to the senior citizens who are having a difficult time paying for gasoline. They need more money in their pocket. They need more supports. This housing issue is bigger than what an individual mayor or city can do by themselves. And they need to do everything they can do, and I think mayors, many are trying. We need a broader understanding that the problem of affordable housing is a national issue. It's affecting big cities, small towns, Northeast, West, and South. I went to Los Angeles, Hollywood Boulevard, there are people living on the streets. In Los Angeles, on Hollywood Boulevard. Here in Washington, as you observe. So it is something that we are deeply concerned about. One of the programs George runs here is a housing assistance program with rent assistance and assisting people in becoming homeowners. We do a tremendous amount of work, but you know what? We could serve a lot more people, and we were poised to support a lot more people if the president's Build Back Better agenda had passed. because he understood it. There were resources and money in there to expand housing supports. There was an agenda on the table, and it was blocked by the senator from West Virginia. Shame on blocking it. Shame on blocking it. So I'm telling it like it is. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Hi, Michael Bryce Sadler with the Washington Post. I wanted to ask about the renewed focus on racial equity we've seen, especially in the past couple of years. For many, that's a daily experience, but for a lot of people, their eyes opened. But that attention can be fleeting, as we've seen. So how can you all be sure that that focus and attention that people currently hold, how can you seize on that to advance initiatives?
I am so happy that you've asked that question, because that's ever present in all of the conversations that are taking place at this conference. And that is and will those whose eyes were open, will those who made commitments, will it be sustainable? Will it continue? Well, we have to continue. It's never acceptable for people to say, well, I'm tired talking about these economic disparities. No, I'm not tired talking about it. I'll become tired talking about it when there's no more economic disparities to talk about. Our job here is to continue to educate and advocate, not only that there are economic disparities in housing and jobs, there's an academic achievement gap, but that there are methods and ways and solutions to address it. So I'm going to celebrate, for example, that the number of African American CEOs of major corporations has increased since 2020. It may have doubled, but what did it double from? 3 to 6, which is less than 1%. So I'm not doing any backflips. I'm not popping a bottle of Dom Perignon. I'm not spiking the ball in the end zone on that. But I will acknowledge that it is a step in the right direction. So we have to continue to work, and we have to continue to encourage and hold accountable our friends in the business sector, many of who responded to the moment by making renewed, refreshed, or more significant commitments. But those commitments are not real if it's a 2-year commitment and then it goes away. It is only real, and you know this, Madam Mayor, if it is a shift in how we do business. And it's a shift in emphasis and focus that is going to be long-standing and permanent. So we believe that those that make the commitments and follow through deserve to be recognized. And we think that those that make commitments and are having a difficult time following through need to be encouraged. And I think overall we have to hold people accountable. This is not just a nice and good thing to do. This is essential if this country is going to continue to thrive in the 21st century. And that is why it is so important. So throughout this conference, there are many workshops, convenings, discussions about this very issue. It is central to what we do. So I'd invite you and encourage you to avail yourself of many of the great experts, both from the business sector and also from the advocacy community who are going to be part of this discussion. And let me say this, because we have a number of business leaders who are here. Your advocacy from the inside is as important as anything we can do from the outside. For you all to continue to push and continue to make the case and continue to connect the dots and continue to tell people why it is a just and fair thing to do, but it is a smart business move as well. So thanks for the question. One last question, if any. One last question, if any. If there are none, give yourselves a big round of applause. Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Thank you, George. Thank you, Toyota, Bank of America, and Nationwide. And we'll see everyone later today and over the next 3 days. Once again, welcome